Hello, this is Dr. Maurice Duffy, and I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm excited to have Marcus North with me today. Marcus is Director of Cricket at Durham, Australian star cricket player, champion, all of those things that go with superstars. Marcus, thank you very much for joining. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks, Maurice. Thanks for the lovely introduction.
No problem. Where are you today?
Well, I'm sitting in my office upstairs at home. So I've been working at home like many of us for a number of weeks now. But yeah, just trying to get a few bits and pieces done. The cricket world, as all of us have slowed down to pretty much a halt. So just making sure that ticking along and do what I can.
And where's home? Where do you call home these days? Because by that accent, you're not where I'm from, Irish, and you're definitely not from where I live, which is a Geordie, and you're definitely not from an Oxford background. So, where do you call home?
Well, home is in the UK now. I live in Lowfell and have done for the last 6 years since I retired from my cricketing career in 2014. And obviously, I've got an Australian accent. Perth was where I grew up and lived most of my life. But the connection to the Northeast is a very, very strong one through my wife. My wife's a Geordie. She lived with me for 14 years in Perth before, like I said, I made that decision to retire from professional cricket in 2014 and coming back, or going to the UK, back for my wife, was a move that we discussed for a few years and one that I'm glad we've taken, and I'm really enjoying calling the UK home now.
And I know Perth, Australia very well, and obviously know the Northeast very well. A little bit different in culture, in pace, in I was going to say passion, but yeah, I would say passion about the sports. How have you found it?
Yeah, it's not, it hasn't been a one that I've had to really get used to too quickly. I guess the story to go back was as an 18, 19-year-old, I came over, as many Australian young cricketers do, they come and play league cricket in the UK, during the Australian winter. So I did that, and Gateshead Fell Cricket Club is my first club. And that's my first year as a young lad. Towards the back end, that's the first time I met my wife, and we stayed in touch, and then that relationship grew, and we got married. So I've been coming back and forth to the UK and to the Northeast every year for a certain amount of time since 1999. So when making that step to relocate the family permanently to the Northeast, might not have been as big as if I hadn't spent a lot of time here. So it was always a second home, the Northeast to me in the UK. It's just now my first home.
Okay. So what's happening with cricket? Where do we see it in the COVID world? When is Durham going to be back playing again, and fans can start turning out to watch it?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. Like all sporting codes are very much in the same position where we're unsure of the immediate future. We're so much reliant on government advice at the moment. As the government has said in recent week, is that we've kind of through that peak, so to speak, and now we're starting to get a bit more, I guess, direction and understanding of the potential scenarios that we're all kind of putting together, and how realistic they are going to be achieved. I think we've seen Premier League football probably, when I say leading the way certainly from in the media, that they're looking to start as soon as possible and putting a lot of things in place. And the one thing that they have an advantage of is money. To put that together, a lot of testing will have to go around, return to training, return to play, and other codes, don't necessarily have that amount of money or generate the money to justify doing that. So, as Durham cricketers, professional cricketers in county cricket, I think the focus in England will be international cricket, and hopefully we can see some international cricket. And then if we can get some domestic cricket towards the back end of the summer, I think that'll be a fantastic outcome. We've got to respect that this is a far bigger thing than sport. But we are very much working closely with our governing body, the governing body working very closely with England Health and the government to put in procedures of trying to get guys back into a return to training and then return to play. I wish I had that answer, a definite answer. We don't. It's one of those ones we just got to keep fluid and adapting with the times as they move forward.
Right. And I'll come on to the players and the mindset, etc. But obviously people will be interested in the financials of Durham. It is it's an icon in the Northeast. It's an icon obviously in the UK as well. So how is the feasibility from a business perspective, a business model point of view? How will you manage the financials?
Yeah, I think that at this stage, we're okay. Our business model is very much, we have a high compared to some of the other counties. The other, when I say bigger counties, that's probably the wrong term. But counties that necessarily have a different business model, they have a more reliant on income of conferences, banqueting, hotels on their side. They're the ones that will be suffering the most because their income is heavily weighted to that side of the business, which is literally fallen off the cliff's edge. Where someone like Durham will have a higher proportion of their income coming from funding from the ECB. And I think Tim Bostock, our CEO, and our financial director and board have been strengthened our position financially in the last 12 to 16 months. And probably put ourselves in the best position we've probably been in for a long time, which is enabling us to ride out this very tough time. I think the longer it goes without any cricket this season, the tougher it gets. But like many other counties and other organisations, to try and secure long-term jobs and the financial stability of the club, we've furloughed a high percentage of our workforce, and that runs out, or that furlough scheme finishes in June. I know we'll probably get an update from the Chancellor this week. But yeah, look, from where we are at the moment, we're okay. We're riding it through and we're doing the best we can. And like I said, the longer it goes through, the more difficult it's going to be. But I guess if in comparisons to the game wide itself, we're probably in a better position than some other counties around the place.
I understand it. So how are you keeping the connection with the players, and how are you maintaining their fitness levels, and obviously their ongoing commitment? How are they finding it?
Yeah, it's been a challenge, but like I said, the players have been furloughed as well. So the reality is they're not working, so to speak. But it enables us and me to check in on their well-being and making sure that they're coping okay. We all, emotionally go through a bit of a roller coaster through this period, no doubt. And professional players are young men, and they're in a no different boat. So, look, they're professional athletes, so you don't have to tell them to keep fit. They just will. It's an instinct. And we all, I think, take very much advantage of the daily exercise that we're permitted to do. That they talk about well-being and getting out and having a bit of time, that kind of fitness hour is crucial. And I know all the players, will continue to do that. But the main focus, certainly from my point of view, is just make sure they're okay. And if there is any players that, are kind of red flagging or needing a bit more attention, we can do that. We've got the Professional Cricketers Association, which is like a union for the cricketers, are very much in contact with them as well. So that the players have got great support through this time. But it's, as we're all facing, it's a time of testing our resilience to what we're facing. And I'll be intrigued once we kind of get through this and we can get a return to play to see how the players come back, see what fitness level they are, see where they are mentally. And I think that's an exciting prospect, I think, rather than looking at it, in a daunting way and maybe looking at it negatively that they might not come back as conditioned. I think we've got to be sensible. They're not going to be as fit as if they were training together like they were in pre-season. But speaking to a lot of the guys, they are kind of enjoying a bit of autonomy with what they're doing fitness-wise. And they're very, a lot of them seem to be coping okay. No doubt the longer this goes, it's going to test us all a bit more. But like I said, there's a number of people keeping an eye on these guys to make sure that they're coping okay.
Good. So how are you handling isolation? How are you? You're obviously at home, you said. So how are you kind of managing your day? How are you managing to get through? People will be interested and seek to learn from people like you.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I very much at the initial stages was completely fine with it. I embraced the slowing down of life, the slowing down of work, and I've got I've got 2 kids. I've got a son that's 10 and a daughter that's 8. My wife's home from her work. She's a teaching assistant, so she's doing the majority of the homeschooling, which is her expertise, which is a challenge. But it's been nice to spend some quality time with the family as well. I think that's probably pretty consistent across the board when you speak to people that work quite busy working lives. To kind of have that concentrated time is nice. It took a little bit of adapting, being around 24/7, but we've kind of found those routines. But I guess the last kind of week and a bit, I've had some really tough days. The reality is that sports people, me being an ex-sportsman for all my life to working in high professional performance sport now, it's very much built around structure, diaries. You can't. It's all mapped out for you as a sports person, and work like I said, working in that space now very much is the same. And my diary is gone. And I think that is okay for a period of time, Maurice. But I think I've grown a bit more anxious over the last week because there is that uncertainty. I just would like a little bit more detail so I can even, like for example, having a start date. If it's August the 1st we're starting, I can work back from that and build a bit of structure in. So, but that's okay. I knew that you're gonna have some good days and bad days, and speak to other colleagues around the country. They're very much in the same boat, and friends and family are very much in the same boat. It's just kind of riding those days out and not necessarily fighting your way through it, but just kind of embracing that. Yeah, you're gonna have days where you don't feel that great. But the next day you probably feel a bit better, or the day after, and that's the kind of attitude I've taken.
Yeah, it's like somebody passed a comment to me when I was talking to them. It's like snow blindness, looking at your diary and it's just blank pages, white pages. Yeah. Looking back at it, it's like suffering from snow blind, and it is an issue, and I can relate to it because the majority, I would have said 90% of the work I did was meeting people, talking to people, being with large groups of people. And then suddenly you're cut off from it. So I get that. So what advice would you give to people? So, as a professional athlete, as a structured individual, going through the isolation, what tips would you give to people as works best for you?
Well, one thing is, like I talked about structure and having some sort of plan. I think that's the absolute key. Even if it's the basic stuff of just mapping out your exercise, maybe a bit of stuff with the kids, your cooking, whatever it might be, some tasks around the house, mixed in with a bit of work that you're doing. It might be a bit of extra courses or study or reading. Just don't put it down on a list. That's one thing that I think's worked for me, is having lists on a daily basis, whether it's a bit of a to-do list or tasks that you would like to do that day. And if you don't get them, that's okay. You push them on to the next day. But having a little bit of structure like that is helpful. Absolutely. And I think I'm lucky with the kids as well, with the homeschooling, is that we've got that structure in the day. The kids start at 9:15, they have a break, they continue on, they have lunch. So there's structure in the household anyway. And I feel that if there has been days where I haven't done what I've preached just then, that results in maybe having a flat day the day after. So my advice is to embrace the slowing down of life and look forward to it all kind of starting up again slowly. But like I said, have a bit of structure and play around with it. But I think just writing a few things down has certainly helped me, and I'm sure that would help a lot of people. And it's probably a pretty consistent message you'll hear from most people. But I think it's different actually thinking about it and saying it than actually writing it down and doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back to you, did I read that you were the first player or the only player that's played for the 6 counties in England? Is that a true statement?
No, I did hold the record, which has now been beaten, thankfully. Yeah. To give you a real short background on that, I've played for 6 different counties. One of the counties I only played for one day down in Hampshire.
It's a record, mate. It's a record.
It's a record, but like I said, it's been broken now, which is good. But it basically, as an Australian coming over and doing overseas work with counties, there was a period where we had 2 overseas counties through the mid to late 2000s, and there was a lot of replacement jobs. If you had an overseas player at, say, Durham, for example, and they went and played 3 Test match series in the West Indies, well, then Durham would call up me and I'd go over for 6 weeks' work. So I did that a little bit around the place, and my numbers crept up, and I played for 6 counties, which I absolutely love and look back on with great fondness, because I love meeting new people. I love playing in different teams. You learn so much in different environments. And I look back now and it holds me in great stead, that experience of doing that in my job now as Director of Cricket at Durham, because I've seen how 6 other counties operate. So and to kind of experience that is invaluable. So I look back at that with great fondness, and also with a lot of thanks, because getting opportunities to play professionally as an overseas player in the UK, was certainly a big part of my career.
And how are you finding the transition from being an international player into kind of coming into the management staff? How are you finding that transition?
Yeah, I guess you won't be surprised to hear that initially it was quite difficult. I dabbled with a few things. I like wine. I came over here and started up a very small e-commerce wine business specialising in Australian and New Zealand wine. A market that I looked into, but reality is when you start it's a very tough market. It's very flooded. So I ended up drinking most of the product rather than selling it. And then I got a great opportunity at South Northumberland Cricket Club, where I was playing a little bit of league cricket when I first came over after retirement. And the best describe them is they're very good operators, very wealthy club, which has invested well in selling a lot of their land to building property. They've got a state-of-the-art indoor cricket facility and cricket business. They're like a mini county cricket club. And the board of directors gave me an opportunity to come in and be their CEO. They had a CEO for a number of years. He moved on, and the board tried to cover that for about 12 or 16 months. And it was a bit of a burden. So they held my hand very much, and I did that for 3 years and had some fantastic mentors, very, very successful business people currently in the Northeast. And I learned an extreme amount of business skills. And you tied that in with what I learned in professional sport and leadership and communication and resilience and dealing with pressure. That's kind of given me the stepping stones to ultimately going into administration and sport, which, Maurice, I always thought I would go and be a coach. I thought, the natural progression would be going to be a professional coach. But the administration side, I absolutely love. And I definitely made the right decision. The path that I chose and was also, I guess, with the balance of opportunities that I took, has led me to where I am now, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Good. Fantastic. And we wish you every success in that. So some quick questions for you. So who's your sporting hero and why?
Sporting hero and why? It's a very good one. I grew up really appreciating and looking up to, cricket was my life, Maurice, really, with a bit of Aussie rules football. Steve Waugh, Alan Border, then Steve Waugh, and then Justin Langer, who was someone that was my captain for pretty much a decade, and I played under when he became coach. He was a huge influence on my career and someone I looked up to. People that were different to me, and I guess if I look back, probably the guys I looked up to were really highly disciplined, very driven fitness. They got every inch out of their career, where I needed that, because I wouldn't say I was lazy. I was just a bit more laid back. And I look back and I would no doubt have a better career it's hard because you can't change yourself. You can improve yourself. But I mean, we've had this conversation before, I think. I can't remember the exact term you used, but it's in me. It's my makeup. It's my kind of genetics, or whatever you want to call it. And I improved that, but we all still have habits, don't we? And habits that we try and work on. And I guess that's why I gravitated to those kind of sporting heroes. I loved when I was, in my early to mid 20s, Lance Armstrong, and then obviously, like many, was shattered with how that all ended up.
I have written about him, kind of telling people how good he was, right?
Oh,
And then caught out in the lie.
Yeah, well, I had a big framed picture signed by Lance Armstrong in my wall, and that got taken down pretty quickly after that. But that aside, he was a pretty inspirational story. He had us believing in me, and he was definitely one that I looked up to. And again, you're talking about high performance, high discipline athletes. They're the guys that I needed to look up to keep trying to not drag me along, but to inspire me.
And for me, it's been fascinating. So. My kind of primary sport was athletics, and then kind of rugby and football, even Australian rules. And it's only in recent years I have never played cricket. So I hold my hands up and say I've never played the game of cricket. I never thought I'd even go to watch a game of cricket. But what I have become fascinated by is just the whole game of cricket, the strategies, the tactics, the positioning. But I've also, and coming back to the point, also been impressed by the dedication. Some of the people that I kind of are involved with, the dedication, the commitment, the work ethic, and the fitness. That's one of the things that's just remarkable. And the fitness is, if you take it, being able to be there for 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, that's absolute, and maintain that level of concentration, mindset. Right, it is extraordinary. It is something that I've become to admire. Now you're going to say, if somebody asks me, have I been down to Durham Cricket Club? No. So I owe you a visit. I'm sure I'll pop down to see you. But moving on, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. So then what do you do outside of cricket for social activity, for amusement? How do you distract yourself from the day job?
I do a bit of voluntary work, probably a little bit in line with the kids as well. I work with the Scouts. So on Monday nights I go down. My son's in Cubs and my daughter's in Beavers. Been doing that for a number of years now. I love it. It's different people. They're not sporting people. Helping young kids in different skills and develop is fantastic. I really enjoy that. I coach the under-11 cricket team. I get a lot out of that. I'm on a number of committees. Within different areas. I'm a school governor, so I enjoy that side of things as well. So that kind of keeps up my time. I love golf. Golf was a big passion of mine. Haven't played as much, I guess, in recent years due to family commitments and work commitments. But every time I get out, I love it. I'm not very good. I'm terrible, but I do love it. Find it very frustrating.
I would have thought a batsman would have been a good golfer.
Yeah, I'm a big left-hander with a big slice. So when I can't control that, it's all over the place. But that very much is something that I do love. I'm very much a family guy, Maurice. A lot of spare time I kind of throw to doing things with the family, going to national trusts, parks, getting out on the bike, going to the beach, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's something that I grew up with my parents giving me a lot of their time. And I think working lives now, we're so busy, aren't we? And I think any time that I can give to my family is pretty important.
All right. Well, look, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thanks for sharing your ideas. Thanks for your time. And we wish you every success at Durham. I look forward to seeing it down there, or maybe even a game of golf. I was with somebody who asked me to do some coaching with them. 17. This is going to impress you. +3 golf. Huh. Right, and I was thinking on a round of golf, she would be giving me probably 30 shots and still kicking my ass. So I can relate to that. But thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Every success at Durham. Look forward to getting you back playing soon. As I said, thank you.
Thank you, Maurice. Absolute pleasure being on. Take care.
Thank you. 5, 4.